Hey guys, it's me, Daryl. I'm excited to be back in front of you because it's been a while. It's been a couple weeks since I've done one of these videos, but I'm really excited about today's topic. So, my question for you as we get rolling, what role is judgment playing in your business or in your life? Think about that for a moment. What role is judgment playing in your business and in your life? And specifically when I'm talking about judgment, I'm thinking about the kind that can be damaging, the kind that can slow us down or hold us back. I've been exploring that question for a long time in my own life. Um, I've had some people along the way tell me that I can be overly judgmental. And as I continue to do the work on me, I just kept seeing where it was true. And I brought unnecessary judgment into so many of my relationships, so much of the work I do, so many of the ways that I interact with others. So for years and years now, I've been really doing work to try to release myself from this judgment jail, as I call it. And I want to help you guys do the same thing. So before digging in to judgment, I kind of want to tell you how we got here. I want to mention an upcoming event. So I'm going to be speaking at a free virtual event through the Louisville Leadership Center, and it's part of their Green Room Micro Learning Series. This is something that Leadership Louisville did in response to COVID, and they started these free virtual sessions. And the topic I'm going to be speaking on June 17th is answering the call to curious leadership. So I'm going to go ahead and drop a link in the comments. I'm going to do that now. So the link is in the comments, and I invite you guys to check it out. It's absolutely free to register. And not only check out my upcoming talk, but they also have some recorded sessions from past talks. For any of you leaders out there, I think it could be a great resource to explore leadership, to explore how you show up, how you get the most out of your team, how you drive results through a few different lenses. And this lens that I'm going to be playing with is judgment and curiosity. So the talk is answering the call to curious leadership. So here's what happened. So first, whenever I see things showing up over and over again for clients, like I know that it's something that probably more of us than may admit out loud are dealing with. And judgment's one of those things, right? I was not only dealing with it in my own life, but I was seeing it come up over and over again in my client sessions. So I had begun really digging in and exploring the role judgment plays. And along the way, I got this opportunity to speak at Louisville Leadership Center, and I said this would be a really awesome topic to dig into. And that's where, so I dug even deeper. I not only worked through what I was going through with my clients, but I dug even deeper. I started doing the research and putting a lot of time in. So I just thought this would be a cool venue to share some of the things that I've been learning. And I'm going to do that over the next few weeks. We're going to talk about the role judgment plays. Typically, I think we judge three things. We judge ourselves, we judge others, and we judge circumstances or situations. So for today, I want to start with judging others. And I'm intentionally leaving judging ourselves for last because that's a big one. So let's talk a little bit about judging others. I believe that judgment slows us down in a lot of ways. Now, judgment serves us sometimes. So my goal here is not to vilify judgment. But I think too often we bring too much of it into situations and we sit in it. I think judgment can be something that is a great catalyst, a great trigger to alert us to something that needs to be explored, that needs to be figured out. But when we just sit in it and we're not moving, how long does it truly serve us? Right? And how often do we judge others? If you're anything like, oh, I don't know, anybody else in the human race, you do it quite often. Right? But are we doing it in ways that serve us or are we doing it in ways that hurt us? And why do we do it anyway? So, first, we judge others because it brings us attention. We all like attention. We like eyes on us. We like the spotlight. And so often, if we're talking about somebody or judging somebody or picking something apart, it brings us attention. And it's part of our human nature that in a lot of times we crave that attention. We crave that belonging. Because why? It helps us feel accepted. Right? Have you ever been part of a group where you're judging, oh, I don't know, politics or a specific leader or the way somebody does something or the decisions made by some other company? When you're doing that in a group and you're all feeling this high alignment, you're feeling connected, we feel like we're accepted into that group if we're sharing in that judgment. A lot of times, judgment allows us to assert our power. It gives us control, right? Because when we sit in the seat of the judge, we feel like we can then be the ones casting that judgment, and it makes us feel good. It makes us feel elevated, right? It helps the room, so to speak, understand the dynamics that we get to decide what's good and bad. We get to decide what's right and wrong. We sit in that seat of judgment. Maybe one of the biggest is it helps us feel better about ourselves. So often, the things we judge in other people, the things that drive us absolutely nuts, are the things we like least about ourselves, are the exact places where we can serve ourselves, can do better by putting in the work, right? But because we don't want to look inward, because we don't want to admit that, we don't want to see that in ourselves, so often we judge those outside of us. So, why does any of this matter? Well, let's play around with the cost, right? By always being the person that casts that judgment, especially at work, we lose out on respect from others. We lose out on trust by the people we work with. Because if you're willing to judge somebody a few offices over, or leadership, or somebody who works for you, what would make me believe that you wouldn't do the same thing to me when I'm not in the room, especially if that judgment's being cast behind somebody's back? Why wouldn't I believe that you would do the same thing to me if it ever served you? Right? So it causes us to lose trust. And here's the thing, when we cast that judgment, we might feel better about ourselves, but we miss out on the opportunity in truly knowing ourselves. Right? Because when we sit in that space of judgment and it's all focused outward, we never turn the lens back on ourselves and explore what's going on in us. What is the part of us that we've closed the door on, that we're numbing ourselves to, that we're not ready to wake up to and do the work around? Right? So we're losing that opportunity to really know ourselves. And then the thing about judging others is it invites more self judgment, right? I believe comparison sits at the base of judgment. So if we're always comparing to other people, well, then why wouldn't we also compare to other people when it comes to who I want to be, what I want to do, what I want to accomplish, what success looks like? So judging others and carrying that with us all the time makes it so easy to judge those around us. So what should we do instead? You know, I think the answer for me is simple, and it's a topic of my talk in a few weeks. I believe we choose curiosity. Like I said, judgment is such a powerful trigger. It's such a powerful catalyst. It's that thing that rings the alarm to say, hey, let's stop and pay attention. Let's awaken to the awareness of a situation. So, first, once that alarm bell goes off, I think the first thing we do is we get really curious about what we're judging. What's driving this judgment? Is it envy? Is it something in us? Is it we're trying to achieve status or power? Is it we're trying to manipulate the dynamics in a room? Is it that we're trying to feel accepted and be part of a group? And so get really curious about what is driving that judgment. And then, secondly, once you're curious about that, whatever the judgment is, stop the single story. See, here's what happens. We can judge anybody about anything. Somebody voted a certain way. Somebody did this thing at work. Somebody made a bad call. Somebody wore something you felt like they shouldn't. We can make judgments about anything. But we take this single story and we blow it up to mean all these other things. Well, they did that this one time, so it must mean that they're not capable or they're incompetent. Well, they voted this way, so it must mean they feel this about this and this and this. So we hang on to these simple stories. Oftentimes, we don't know why somebody does something, but it never stops us from judging it. So, a simple question I encourage my clients to ask themselves, a question that I ask myself is, what else could be true? Right? When you find yourself sitting in judgment, when you find yourself getting emotional because somebody did something or said something or made some kind of decision, ask yourself, what else could be true? What part of this story am I not seeing? And what we'll find is quite often we judge the things that are most harmful to us, that most impact us, and we build stories around them, even though those stories may not be true. So, what else is possible? Because when we open our minds up to the possibilities, when we open our minds up to other things that could be true, then it opens up this idea that, oh, I don't have to cling to this one version of the story and make it mean all these other things because there are other things that may be true. And it's much easier to let go of that emotional attachment. So hopefully you're willing to spend the next couple of weeks with me playing around with this idea of judgment. I truly believe that by understanding the role judgment plays and by learning to choose curiosity instead, that is the most direct path to high quality leadership. It's the most direct path to creativity, to collaboration, to achieving more of what you want in your own business, with your own teams, and in your own life. Right? So this is a foundational thing that I think can serve each and every one of us. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you have, please share it. Please tag somebody you feel like needs to hear this message. If there's an overjudger that is constantly talking about people, constantly bringing judgment into the workplace, you don't have to judge them. You can get curious about it, and you can invite them to watch this video so they can get curious about it as well.